You know, yesterday Faris was on your show and he calls me a fat stooge. He's like he's losing it.
No, come on.
And you shut him down.
I just said it. You're not there to defend. And similarly, I will not allow you to attack Senator Rowley
But I never do. I never do. I never get into ad hominem attacks. That's what he does. He is captain ad hominem. Let me tell you something. My cell phone lit up like a Christmas tree. WhatsApp, text, Facebook, people saying, Faris calling up your name again on Hema show. You know,
but you identified as one of the key persons in the UNC's camp.
I'm not in the UNC's camp. I defend this government. I defend Kamla Prasad Bises's government. I defend the People's Partnership because I want to. I think they're doing fantastic work. I gave them a lot of licks early in their career. I gave them a lot. I wrote 1 million words. And I gave them a lot of licks because predominantly I was against some of the characters that were in the government that are no longer there. But before you go to the news, I want Faris, because I know he's watching, I want him to see this. I said, and I'm a man of my word.
You know, they say that imitation is the greatest form of flattery.
You may say that, eh? I want to tell you something, I accept that. But the last time I was on your show, right after Faris, I said the next time I come, I will have one of these. So I went yesterday in the mall to get this. And if you'd allow me, I bought this, it's $125. And I asked them, what is it? This is a pocket square.
It is a pocket square.
I said, what's a pocket square? No, but I asked the girl at Solomon's in Westmore, I asked her, nice place, real nice stuff. I asked her, what's a pocket square? She said, don't serve no purpose, it's just flair. And at that moment, I understood Faris Al-Rawi's role.
Let's not take it personal. No, we're not going to do that here.
No, I'm not. I'm saying I understood now what this does. I understood it.
It's a fashion statement in the birth of the Metro Man, which many people in your party. But there are many people in your party that wear it, but we're not going to go down that level.
That's just a joke. Oh, you allow him to make his joke, you allow me to make mine. It's all in good taste. I mean, Trinidadians need to understand. I mean, I was telling you when we were off air, Faris and I almost related through marriage, and he's married into a family that I am related to. So it's not like we out waiting to see.
Well, is it that you're just being sensitive?
Not even a little bit. But how could you say that when he gets so much time to say so many things that I am not allowed to respond to? I'm not allowed to counteract, and you know, I just let most of it go. Faris stands up in the Senate and uses the word ad hominem, prior to and after him attacking people personally. That's what ad hominem means, attacking people personally.
But politics is an adversarial art.
And I accept that. But you can't be in the fighting, and then complaining if other people fighting. Faris is upset, Maxi Coffey upset, because while Keith Rowley was on his legs in New York, we got pictures that there were 10 people in the church.
Is that a true representation? Because also I saw someone commented that you don't know if this picture is real. You don't know if it's true. And even when I asked
we posted 27 pictures from 27 views. We posted pictures of Diane Baldio, Chedi Singh, and Marlene McDonald, and they were all of them there. Hema, it bust. The PNM supposed to...
I'm sure that was not the only meeting that he had.
No, they showed one in a very tiny restaurant that was packed. But again, that's about 12 people, and I'm saying to you, the PNM's problem is not the People's Partnership, you know. The PNM's problem is the popularity of their own leader. And it's damaging the party. And you have to accept this. Their last big anti-government march, were it not for OWTU workers, it bust. And then they had a march where they went to join the JTUM Labor Day March, and there was revolt among the ranks, and unions were pulling out. Now, inside the OWTU, Ansel Roger is being challenged. And his latest, whatever, that was supposed to be at King George V Park to go to the Prime Minister's office, how much people went? 10? The PNM needs to deal with that.
But you know, this use of the term propaganda, Philip, and I have to ask you, personal attacks, and they to say that persons in the government camp are guilty of personal attacks and vicious attacks.
This is a government that is under constant scrutiny, under constant attack. Every single member of this government is afraid now of what's going to come out. People don't even need evidence anymore. They could just come out and say stuff and let it go. You know, it's now in the public domain. You could go on a campaign and hack emails and read stuff. What Camille Robinson Regis read was
Well, I know
half,
that matters with your lawyers, right?
well, yes, but half of the letter that she read was what was a communication with Rodney Charles and the UNC, and the other half was a communication between myself and Ral Munlal.
So maybe Rudy Munilal gave it to her. What's to say that didn't happen?
So you're saying that he gave her Rodney Charles on too? I don't know the source of the information, but then I read Ken Ali in the interview with Asha Javi trying to understand how they have that information too.
Okay, so we're going to go straight to the 7 o'clock news, and when we come back, we will continue this discussion. Welcome back to Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Hema Pt2, and we are continuing our conversation. I want to ask a question. Phillip, this is all about the UNC propaganda, their propaganda machine. Is it are you in charge of a UNC propaganda machine?
Why would I be in charge of a UNC propaganda machine?
So why are they always identifying you as a defender of the government?
Because
why have you always been identified?
No, you know,
but not only by the PRO, by several other persons.
No, but you see, I want to tell you something. The moment the talk started to rumble that I might be considering or considered as a challenger for Diego Martin West, all of a sudden my name became sweet in PNM's mouth. From Camille Robinson Regis, Keith Rowley, Ashton Ford, Faris Al-Rawi, all of a sudden.
But you put yourself in the public domain.
A friend of mine found me on Facebook. I knew her about 100 years ago. And I asked her, how you find me? She said, you're not hard to find. Your name in everybody's mouth on Facebook. Why is Faris doing that? Faris is the PRO.
But this is not...
He is the PRO.
Yeah, but as the PRO, he also must highlight, and this is not about personalities, but if he is sitting in his capacity as a PRO, he must highlight what he thinks are questionable.
But he is the actual elected head of the PNM propaganda machine. But if somebody responds and defends the government, it's propaganda.
You think what you all are doing is defending defending the government?
We continue to ask the PNM to debate on issues. We ask them to stop the ad hominem attacks. We ask them to stop the...
But they're saying that you all are guilty of these attacks.
But why doesn't Faris prove this?
Let's stop personalizing it.
No, but why doesn't he or they come with evidence and say, look what we're talking about? Because us providing information to the public of Trinidad and Tobago right after the PNM denigrated the Prime Minister for going to Brazil. Keith Rowley jumps on a plane to go to New York and your thing bust. But all the PNM want to do is bad talk the Prime Minister. She stormed the World Cup. She gave Brazil bad luck. How her grandchild wearing a Spider-Man mask. I mean, I've read the nastiest things come out of the PNM camp. We can't even answer. How do you defend somebody attacking somebody's grandson, a little boy, for wearing a Spider-Man mask? Do you go down in the gutter with them? Because that's where it is.
Well, they're saying they didn't think it was appropriate protocol.
So they were children are children. Read the Bible, suffer little children to come unto me. Jesus Christ didn't say, or any of the other religious leaders didn't say, dress your children appropriately. And the little child was well dressed. He had on a Spider-Man mask. Oh gosh. Man.
Now we're also looking at the Voice newspaper that has been linked to this thrust that the partnership is putting in place.
Because they wouldn't say that the Voice newspaper is pro-People's Partnership. They will say it is a propaganda machine. Yet I write a column in the Weekly Mirror every single week for years, 6 years. And that newspaper, the entire newspaper, is anti-People's Partnership, anti-UNC. I write the only supportive column in that newspaper and take a lot of licks first. Now there is a newspaper, The Voice, that supports the government, supports the People's Partnership. And what I found funny is reading the online edition of that other newspaper. They put out 3 stories. They put out 3 stories.
But they raised a number of questions.
And you know what? Let's deal with the questions. But first of all, the subtext of Asha Javid's column, story, was that it's not selling, nobody wants it, nobody want to work there, nobody interested in it, they can't give the paper away free, they run a list of companies that wouldn't accept it at their security gates. And I asked a question, because my mind works like this. If that is true, why is this a story? If it is true, but just let me ask this question. If the Voice newspaper is really dead, isn't she protesting too much? What is the point of the story?
They raised a number of questions about the hiring practices, about the treatment of staff, and as well as of the use or the misuse of government funds. I think Senator Rowley also asked about the full-page ads.
Okay, but let's deal with them one at a time. When they started off, they were running one of my columns, and I personally chose to step back. I have issues. I have been public with my issue of I don't think Ken Ali is the right man to be running CNMG, and I certainly don't think he's the right man to be running The Voice.
Is he the person running The Voice?
From what I reliably understand, yes. But I could be wrong. I don't know. I asked yesterday, Why are we playing hide and seek? If there's an editor-in-chief, somebody step up and say, I am doing the job. I wish it was me. They have so many good journalists in this country that I know that I deal with on a daily basis that would gladly come and write for any credible newspaper, whether it be pro, and there's nothing wrong with a bias, you know. Just state your bias.
Well, in the U.S., they state that bias.
State your bias. Fox News is Republican, MSNBC is Democrat. State your bias. There's nothing wrong with a bias because your supporters...
Well, Trinidad media prides itself on being an independent democratic institution.
I don't think...
Unbiased and objective.
I don't even want to answer that. But let's go back to the issue of the Voice newspaper. Why attack a paper that you see in your story is dead? It makes no sense.
But the paper's entire edition was about their newspaper. So therefore they felt the need.
So now there's two newspapers fighting a war. Well, I get into that. But I think it's badly handled. Honestly, I think it's badly handled.
But you think it, but they dedicated an entire
Hema, every time I come on your show, I will tell you the one thing that the People's Partnership does badly is communication. They do a terrible job, and everybody
because
involved.
The entire Voice was about the Express newspaper.
I want to tell you something. You know what? That is between them. I can't get into that because that's not my job. I have no dog in that fight. The reality of the situation is if the Express wants to be anti-government and the Voice wants to be pro-government, duke it out. Duke it out. I think, personally, the Voice benefited from a lot of free exposure. So people who didn't know there was a Voice newspaper now knows about it, and maybe that would help them. I think they need
Do you think it's a misuse of government resources?
I don't know if government resources being used.
Advertising space is being used.
But advertising space is used in all media. So why, if something supports the government, blank them for government funds? Why? Why does that make sense? In whose mind?
Now, also there were questions about, this is work for cash in an email. Hans explained the decision was difficult. The paper has nothing to do. I was interviewed by Sasha Mohammed. After 3 months, no contracts offered, no NIS payments. I'm being paid cash like a criminal. I've received no payments.
Okay, I don't know why being paid cash is a criminal thing, but I want to say this. It's a brand new paper, and to come into the media environment in Trinidad, especially in this hostile, highly charged election fervor time, it's going to be difficult for anybody. It's easy. I remember when I used to be not a supporter of the People's Partnership. Hema, if I write a grocery list, it was published.
Why did you become a supporter?
We will answer that. Just put up in there for a second. If I wrote a grocery list on Facebook, it was published in every newspaper. Because Phillip Alexander said it, and it was lashing the government. But the moment I say, you know what, I think this government is delivering. I personally, I am first and foremost a social and political activist. That's what I do. And I think this government is delivering. And I want to ask Faris and all the other people who speak for the PNM.
Yes, so we'll take Senator Arawi, not personally.
No, he's the PRO. I have to ask him. He's the PRO. I want to ask their political leader, Dr. Keith Rowley. I want to ask Ashton Ford. I don't know what role he plays there anymore. Start to talk PNM policy.
But you heard him talking PNM policy.
What policy?
In the clips, he spoke about the PNM's crime policies. He says that they delivered...
No, what he said was the NOC is a representation of SORT. The NOC is nothing like SORT. SORT was a bandwagon. NOC is a combination of all state law enforcement response machinery under one focused element. And it works, and it is working. But talking PNM policy is not coming on the news or on talk shows and bad talking the government policy. Just advance your policies. Say that if I were in government, when we are in government, if ever we are lucky and fortunate enough to form the government, a PNM central bank policy would be this. A PNM crime policy would be that. We're not getting any of that. The closest we came was Keith Rowley dusting off Vision 2020, rebranding it Vision 2030.
Do you think Vision 2020 was such a bad document?
I think that...
I've read the document.
I did as well. And I think that the ideals that Vision 2020 espoused was lost in translation. I believe that this government is doing more Vision 2020 than the last government. I think this government's policies are people-centric, and that was what was needed. Trinidad needed a crime, housing, jobs, education policy. What Fazal Karim has done in 4 short years, that man needs to be knighted. Trinidadians are now able, and people need to know this.
But if they're doing, you know, there's a school of thought that let me not espouse all of my principles, let me not stand up and beat my chest and
that's
say,
what the government agrees.
Let me not say,
they agree
oh,
with
look at me, this is the two.
Hema,
But
you're
people
right.
will feel it. If people look at the show, they'll be like, you know, this is an intelligent show to look at in the
you
morning.
know what?
I don't
You're
need to say that.
You're right, and that's how the government believes. The government believes, listen, we're doing the work and the public will see. The only reason I speak about it is because the opposition distracts, pixie dust, bells and whistles. Their PRO and other people come on TV and say the most damaging things. Dr. Rowley has a position on everything the Prime Minister does. I mean, you are the leader.
But he's the leader of the opposition. He should. He's supposed to do
good.
that.
I agree with you, but let me say this. You are the leader of the opposition, but you refer to the Prime Minister as hotfoot. Where is the line? Where's the decency? Where's the integrity? We're going to have a conversation, a national conversation, and 2 days later, you gone. So she hotfoot, but you cool? And I don't understand how that becomes what is the opposition rhetoric constantly. I think the public fed up of it, you know.
I think the public is fed up of petty politics.
I think
the
so.
public is a little fed up of character assassination. I am
short of this, whatever this is, we call it a pocket square.
It is a pocket square.
Short of this.
I'm going to send you a subscription to a magazine for fashion.
No, listen, I think Faris Al-Rawi is a lovely guy. He is a nice, intelligent guy. But I don't understand how the same Faris Al-Rawi who could give the Prime Minister knocks for her hiring and firing practices is not calling for the removal of Camille Robinson Regis from the Senate. You do not call the people of Trinidad and Tobago rats. That's what she did.
But a government minister, or let me say,
he was referring to his colleagues.
A voice resembling a government minister. Because reactions fly real quickly.
Yeah, but,
refer to cabinet colleagues or refer to members of his
reactions.
Inner. I mean, so they say it too. Come on.
It's not. Because he's referring to his colleagues as rats. So let them sort that out. But she, as a non-elected official, using she's in one of the houses of the parliament, refers to the people who owns that house as rats, and she's still there. Why is Faris Al-Rawi not calling for her removal? Why is Keith Rowley not showing the same testicular fortitude that Kamala Persad-Bissessar has shown and fire Camille? She needs to be fired. She can't, and she apologized a month later. After all manner of persons have to weigh in on the issue.
But she apologized.
A month later, I think she apologized that people are upset. She didn't apologize because she thinks she's wrong. She apologized because enough people are saying, listen, this is costing you all politically.
Now, Philip, I want to ask you this question about the type of politics that we're seeing being played out. Race, people's personal lives are being dragged out into the public domain. And I think once you put yourself up for public domain, you do have to be held to a higher level of scrutiny. You do. And no one is going to hide behind a cloak of anything.
Definitely. We want a deeper democracy.
But you also... both parties are, sometimes I read what's in the public domain and I'm disgusted by it. Because I, like a lot of people, and I would like to say you because I know at one time we would speak on Facebook, and a number of activists from a number of the parties, not just yourself, and the PNM camp as well, debate on policies. I don't care about all these wild allegations that can't be backed up, that said sources, that when agendas are being played out, what are the policy positions? And then people like yourself are being accused of continuing that, well, let's say what these allegations are.
Let's ignore that for a minute. A year and a half ago, I was on this show. You and I spoke, and we spoke about housing. And I said that I have been proposing that the government up to $1 million offer through unit trust, First Citizens Bank, create the machinery to offer people who are trying to buy a home up to $1 million, 0% deposit, 0 interest, so that the average family who are working minimum wage or a little better can have an opportunity to own a home and keep the family together. That evening, the Prime Minister had a public gathering, and she announced that they would do that. By the next day, the People's National Movement machinery trotted out information, reams of information, how long they've had it. And I want to ask them a question. If you have a policy that could be enacted by the stroke of a pen, and your people, your supporters are the people most desperately in need of that assistance, why is it still just a plan? Why wasn't it a policy? Why didn't you advance it that everybody who wants to own a home, come to us, up to $1 million, pick your ceiling? I'm just saying, that is a policy.
Now, Senator Al-Rawi and I yesterday during that conversation, he said that this opposition has voted with the government more than any other opposition that has ever existed in the country, in the history of this country.
The workload being put forward by this government is ridiculous. ridiculous. The PNM has no choice. How many times you're going to walk out the parliament? How many times you're going to vote against it? The people seeing work after work after work. The job is being done. We don't speak about the 78 or 88 long-standing agreements, negotiations that were outstanding, that was taken place and dealt with by this Minister of Labour. We talk about what Watson Duke is doing by the immigration, and it's causing people stress. But Trinidadians need to understand what we focus on grows. If we're seeing good government, if we're seeing work being done, we also need to talk about that. And Hema, the media has a part to play. You asked me a question earlier. Why is it such a highly charged atmosphere? The media allows certain excesses to take place, and if they don't rein themselves in, that will become the tenor of the national conversation. We will stop talking policy. There are issues that need to be addressed. We've been proposing for years, since Manning was Prime Minister, make all schools 10-year schools. Forget this SEA nonsense. Your child goes into school from Standard 1 or preschool and finishes at Form 5. One school. Remove exams, do a grade point average. We
can't even get the current system right. You're looking to fix it like the Americans.
But these are the things that people want to see government and opposition get together and fix. Politicians want respect. They need to give people the delivery at the level that they need. Fix these problems. A lot of the crime that's coming out of the at-risk communities have to do with illiteracy. People can't work. Even if they wanted to work, they go to pizza boys, they want a job, they hand them an application form, fill that out. 77% functional illiteracy rates. You can't fill out the application form, so you have to settle for a hustle. Illiteracy needs to be addressed on a massive scale in those communities. Whose agenda was it to keep those people from owning homes, owning businesses, from getting educated?
Yeah, but you're insinuating there's some sort of conspiracy plot, and we don't have the evidence to support that.
East of Port of Spain. East of Port of Spain, interview people, bring them on your show. Invite them, tell them, write me, give me your stories. East of Port of Spain, there are so many tens of thousands of desperate people that if you give them a hand up, they're ready to grab. They need the help. Something went wrong. This country spent $250 billion and ignored the people.
But we're not a research-centered society. We don't do the research to determine where we have fallen short. So every 5 years, we see policies just restarting. We see people just making ad hoc decisions. Then you see a court order to demand the government to have greater transparency.
I agree with that. And
I fully endorse that.
Listen, I think that, in fact, I wish transparency, I wish procurement could be moved to the judiciary, separated completely from the government. Let them be able to weigh in on it right away, so that anything above, I understand that in Canada, anything above $1 million Canadian, you have to publish it in the newspaper. Not only the company, all of the principals, the directors, so you will know that ABC Construction and DEF Construction is the same Charles Smith. You'll know who getting this contract, who getting that contract. You will know, because it would have been published and people would know, and you'll be able to ask questions. Okay, I know that you was in the Tulum and Tamron ball business, and all of a sudden you're in the wastewater treatment business.
But then the government that you so support is also guilty of not having full disclosure.
This is a country of 1.3 million people. The pool of people that you have access to is divided, violently almost sometimes, between who supports the PNM and who supports the UNC People's Partnership. So this government has a balancing act, because they're trying to do so much in 4 short years, well, in this term, to demonstrate that delivery can be the tenor of the government, that they're running out of people to deal with. I understand there were 25 main names under the previous administration got the bulk of contracts. This government has 325 contractors that are benefiting. So it may not be a perfect place, but we're getting there.
10 seconds, Philip, your closing comments. You are said to be one of the masterminds behind the UNC propaganda machine.
I want to recommend.
Do not end with that. Closing comments.
You know, the politics needs to change. We need to grow up now. We need to mature. I think the public is telling the politicians we're not interested in the bacchanalist culture. We want information.